hands. How many of you heard the phrase growing up, you can be anything you want to be? Did you hear that? Yeah, what a crock that turned out to be. I wanted to play in the NBA. Turns out I'm short, I'm slow, and I can't jump. Not a good resume, but it wasn't bad. We're middle school. And my best friend, I'll call him Alan, because that was his name. And they said, you can be anything you want. And he's like, dude, I'm going to be a model. And I'm like, dude, you're ugly. You can't be whatever you want to be. I actually did an event with the NBA a few years ago, met Shaquille O'Neal. You guys know who Shaq is, right? And I walked away, I started dying laughing. My buddy said, what's so funny? I said, what if they told Shaq that growing up? You be anything you want to be. No, he can't. What if Shaq's dream in life is to be a professional horse jockey? Imagine those horses. Oh! And you start learning it through life. Like, I worked fast food as a teenager. Anybody else work fast food? Yes, these are my people. Never give fast food workers a hard time. I don't care what you got, what happened, don't give them a hard time. I was in line behind a guy the other day, and he's just like, just reaming the poor little girl, going, son, don't pickles on the sandwich, you take it back, don't just take the pickles off, you give me the sandwich. This girl's in tears, like, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry, I'm sorry. And she goes back there, and I'm thinking, I didn't say it, but I want to go, dude, you paid $5, you got food in a bag. Be happy. But I didn't, because if you've ever worked for fast food, you know this happened. I don't know what was on his sandwich when it went behind the counter. He's not gonna want what's on it when it comes back. I'm just saying. And then I see jobs I could not do. They have road construction here in Provo? Yeah. That was a bit of a rhetorical question. They got guys in the neighborhoods that stand there with that sign, stop. Slow. Stop. Slow. Now, these guys get paid really well, but I'm just telling you, I could not do that job. With my personality, after about a half hour, I would start messing with people. Stop. Slow, stop. Slow, stop. Stop. Cracks me up as these guys wear hard hats. Is that in case the sign falls off or something? That just makes me laugh. And then I got to thinking of other jobs I could not do. I flew out here from Atlanta, Georgia, and I flew to Salt Lake, and it was awesome, but I love flight attendants. I love them. I could not do that job. One flight of having to stand up at that door at the end of every flight. Okay, bye-bye. Okay, bye. Okay, bye-bye. Okay, bye. Okay, bye. We'll see. Get off the plane! The part I really couldn't do was the part they were required by law to do at the beginning of every flight. To fasten your seatbelt, put this end into this end. To release, pull up on the handle. I'm telling you, I would snap. Direct your attention to Kenn. He's going to show you how to fasten your seatbelt. Okay? Okay. The fasten! You know what? If we're in a crash and you can't figure this out, you deserve to die. And if we lose cabin pressure and there's a bright yellow oxygen mask swinging in front of your face, and you can't figure out, breathe. Maybe your DNA does not need to be passed on. I'm just saying. At the end of the flight, ladies and gentlemen, it's our final approach. Please put your tray tables and seat backs in the full and upright position. Why? Really, why? Okay, safe, unsafe. Safe, unsafe. Death, life. Death, life. Really? I've got a cousin who's a flight attendant. I said, what is up with the tray tables? And she said, I'm not making this up. She said, well, in case of an emergency evacuation, we don't want anybody to get trapped. I would pay to see that. Everybody evacuate immediately. Okay, my tray table's down. I couldn't do that job. Oh, I saw one job One job, I've done this for over 3 decades. So one job in 3 decades that if I didn't do this, I would want to do. I was in Phoenix, Arizona. Buddy of mine picks me up in a convertible. I'm like, dude, this is awesome. I said, what are you doing? It rains. He goes, it only rains twice a year. That night I do the show. I go back to the hotel. I turn on the TV in Phoenix, Arizona, where it rains twice a year. They actually have a weatherman. I would love that job. Let's go to Kenn on the Weather Center. Okay, if you notice on the map here, you'll notice that we live in a desert. I'm gonna go on a limb here and say it's gonna be hot tomorrow. Let's take a look at the 5-month forecast. Hot. Back to you. Now, I don't know what you do for a living. Somebody tell me what you do for a living. Like, sir, what do you do for a living? You teach. Very good, very good. That's a great profession. I love teachers. My wife is a teacher. But you probably didn't dream of that, like you can be anything you want. I want to teach. Hey, what's your name? Steve, you want to go play baseball? No, let's get some chalkboards. And I'll show you how to do stuff. Let's do that instead. Probably didn't do that growing up. No, I don't care what your job is. I had a moment when our daughter was little. She was a baby. She had a fever. My wife said, oh, my goodness, go get a thermometer. We threw away all the baby stuff. Get a thermometer. I go to the store. I get. Now, if you've had a baby, you know it's a special thermometer. It's called a rectal thermometer. And I wanted to make sure I do this right. I read the instructions again because it'd been a while. And I saw this on the instructions to the rectal thermometer. Now, I want to say this. I want you to think about your worst day ever at work. Okay? Your worst day. And then what I read on the bottom of this instructions, it said, each thermometer has been individually tested. Your job's not that bad, okay? I'm just saying. I see this poor guy coming home from work. Oh. Honey, come sit down. You know? You look sad. What's wrong? Next week I gotta work overtime. Oh my goodness. Life is confusing enough as it is. And I used to think, my dad was an aeronautical engineer, brilliant man, but I used to think at times he was an idiot. Because my mom would say something very simple, and he would stand there like a deer in headlights. My mom would say something like, hey, we need to fix that drippy faucet. And my dad would be. See, now I know what he was doing. I've been married almost 25 years. He was trying to figure out which we she was talking about. Yes. My first year of marriage, my wife came in one day. She goes, we need some new spring clothes. And I thought, I got plenty of shorts and T-shirts. Doesn't matter, because that was a we. Okay? This is going to help some marriages tonight. I'm just telling you right now. I was watching a ball game one week, and I'm sitting there just Saturday morning watching the game. She comes in and announces, we need to cut the grass. And I actually had the mental thought, she's going to help. That was a me-we. Okay? I'm telling you, 25 years of marriage, I'm still trying to figure it out. My 2 sons were home from college over the holidays. My wife makes an announcement. She goes, we need groceries. And I'm standing there just like my dad used to do. My son said, what's wrong with Dad? I said, leave me alone. I don't know if it's a she-we, a me-we, or a we-we. I'm trying to figure it out. That word can be confusing. When we were first married, some of our friends started to have kids, and the guys would come up and say, hey, we're pregnant. Okay, you look pregnant, but I don't think that's the way it works. It's no, we're gonna have a baby. I'm thinking, no, you're not. She's gonna have a baby. You're just kind of along for the ride, right? And I've heard other guys that say, well, they say that men passing a kidney stone 3 millimeters is the same as a woman giving birth. I don't think so. Women having birth is like a woman passing a kidney stone the size of a human. Okay, That's birth. Oh, man. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. Now, we have children. Raise your hands if you have children, number of children you have. Raise your hands. That's good. 2 hands. All right. That's good. We have 4, and it's amazing that we have. I love this. My second son, when he was in middle school, last year, I got to coach him. We're driving to practice. And out of nowhere, he's like, Dad, look, Dad. We're at a red light. Next to us is a brand new Maserati. I'm like, dude, that is so cool. And he goes, Dad, do you think we could get one of those? I'm like, and it was a moment, and just kind of hit me. I thought, yes. You know what? I could have one of those. He's like, really? And I'm like, yes. I said, I could have one paid for. And he's like, really? And I said, yes. I said, do you know why I don't? He said, why? And I said, you. And he said, oh, man. And I said, no, dude, not all, man. You're way better than a Maserati. I wouldn't trade you for 10 Maseratis. You're incredible. I said, you don't poop in your pants anymore. You can feed yourself. You're awesome, and you're getting better. Now, I want to ask this. How many of you have had or have right now a teenage boy? Raise your hands real quick. Yes. You can understand this. I believe when you get pregnant, you should get a baby shower. When you get married, you should have a wedding shower. We need to add a shower. If you have teenage boys, you get a food shower. It amazes me how these people eat. It's unbelievable. I was telling a buddy about it. I said, my boys drink a gallon of milk a day. He said, you ought to get a milking cow. I said, yeah, we did. They killed it and ate it. Okay, it's just real. I think you should be able to register at Costco and they bring pallets of food into your house. I took my sons to a buffet restaurant. Buffet restaurant. They had 3 heaping plates of food. I'm like, that's amazing. I bring them home. I go to get the mail. I come in. My son is in front of the refrigerator. So, what are you doing? He goes, I'm hungry. I said, how is that possible? He goes, I don't know. And then I asked one of the dumbest questions ever. I said, are you ever full? And he said, no, sir. But every now and then I get tired of chewing. That's just amazing. And they eat. And then my youngest son's 13. Now, I forgot about teenage boys. Teenage boys are a different level. It's just like their brains aren't catching up yet. I told him the other day, I said, hey, simple idea here. While you're in the shower, for an hour and a half, just at some point, won't you grab the soap? Okay, just grab it. And I said, I don't know how this works, but he went in, he smelled like our dogs. He came out, he smelled like a wet dog. Didn't smell any better. And it's just like, man, that's amazing. And I'm trying to get through to them, just trying to get there and I'll tell you this, no, and I'm just going to ask this one. How many dads are here tonight? How many dads are here? All right, bless your hearts, man. Hang in there. Because I'll tell you, as dads, my least favorite phrase, my boys, as they gotten older, my least favorite phrase is I might have. I might have. I'm driving my sons, my 2 older ones, to school about 5 years ago. It's February, it's cold. I'm driving them, and I hear out of the back seat, uh-oh. What do you mean, uh-oh? He said, I might have forgot something. Now, before I tell you what it was, is anybody over here, just a guess, February, school, cold, anything he might have forgot? What do you think he might have forgot? Coat, very good. He had on a hoodie, but it was okay. I'm like, that's it. Anybody over here want to take a wild guess? Who said shoes? Do you know my son? He said, I might have forgot my shoes. I said, well, look on your feet. Do you see anything on your feet? And he's like, no, sir. At what point do you walk outside across a cold concrete floor and not have the mental thought, there's nothing on my feet? This It's the same son that my wife came in about 2 weeks later. She said, hey, grab your shoes. We're going out to eat. I'm not cooking tonight. My son's standing in the living room like my dad and me. So what are you doing? He goes, I said, did you hear your mother? Get your shoes. I don't know where they are. I said, I'm going to give you a hint. They're not on the ceiling. Go get your shoes. I don't know where they are. I said, well, where did you put them? Now, this is a teenage boy look, and most of you are going to get this. He did not say a word with his mouth. He said it with his face. It was this. Let me translate. Well, Yoda, if I knew where they were, I would get them. I have a college education, and I am sucked into this conversation. I asked the dumbest question known to man. I said, where's the last place you remember having them? He said, on my feet. This is the same son. His bedroom's in the basement. I went down there that February. I went down. It is so cold in our basement, I can see my breath. He is in a quilt cocoon. You can see his eyes and fingertips holding an Xbox controller. And that's it. I said, man, it's freezing down here. And out of the quilt I hear, I know, right? I said, why don't you turn the heat up? I don't know how. I said, let me get this straight. You can operate 27 buttons simultaneously. But that box on the wall with 2 buttons in the shape of arrows, that confuses you. I know, right? But I love this kid. He's amazing. He's in college now, and he just makes me laugh out of nowhere. He just makes me laugh. This last Christmas, he takes his girlfriend to a movie. He goes, yeah, Dad, you and Mom ought to go see it. But, Dad, can I ask you a question? I'm like, yeah. He says, do they ever treat you like a criminal when you go to the movies? I said, what did you do? He said, nothing. I just paid for the tickets, and she took my 20 and just went. I said, do they do that randomly? He goes, you know what I did? I said, what did you do? He said, she gave me my change, and I went. Isn't that awesome? And I know it's confusing to kids because they got to go through just all. Do you realize we live in a time with more choices than any other time in the history of the world? Do you realize that? If you doubt it, let me ask you a question. When's the last time you sat in front of a TV with a remote control and went through 900 channels? And there was nothing on. There's too many choices, and we're inventing new choices and solving problems nobody has. We're helping with questions nobody's asking. I'm driving on the interstate, speed limit 55, speed limit 70, that's my favorite. Have you ever seen the ones they put on the bottom about every 10th sign? Minimum speed, 40 miles an hour. Have you seen them? Why? Why do we need that choice? Are there people driving around going, hey man, you see any cops? I'm doing 35, woo! Is this happening? Solving problem. This is one of my favorites. My kids every October mock me. Dad, here's your favorite candy. Ha ha ha. It's a tube of candy. It's been about 12 years now. Mini M&Ms. Have you seen them? Yes. Why? Why did we need that choice? Were people eating regular M&Ms going, oh dang, I can't finish a whole one. This wish they would make them smaller. I'll put that in some foil and eat the rest of that later. Too many choices. And they're inventing new choices every day. And I guarantee you that, I'll give you an example of why there's too many choices. Every person in here in the last 30 days, you have been in a car with a friend, a spouse, a loved one, or a neighbor, and you have had this conversation around the evening time. So, where do you want to eat? I don't know. Where do you want to eat? I don't care. What do you feel like? I don't know. What do you want? Doesn't matter to me. What do you want? How about pizza? I don't want that. I thought you said it didn't matter! Drive around for days. You finally get to restaurants, more choices. Would you like a table or booth? Inside, outside, hot top, blah, 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 menu for. Now, they try to get you in that choice-making mode. First question they ask is, would you like something to drink? Because everybody has a favorite drink. Dude, what's your favorite drink if you could have anything? Root beer, very good. What's your favorite drink? Dr. Pepper, what's yours? Water. That's your favorite drink. Is that your wife? She's a wild one, isn't she? Water. That's awesome. I bet you love vanilla ice cream too, don't you? That's great. No, that's awesome. I'm outside the South, but I gotta say, my favorite drink, anybody here like sweet iced tea? Anybody else? A couple. See, now I'm from the South. I'm out of my element because I'm like sweet iced tea. I love sweet iced tea, and you can't get it. And you ask for sweet iced tea, they're like, oh, it's unsweet, but there's sugar on the table. I'm like, yeah, and there's a moon in the sky. Because if you drink sweet tea, you know sugar does not dissolve in cold tea. It's like a snow globe. You stir up. It's like drinking unsweet tea till that last sip. Whoa, wow. But I love it, so I started using sweeteners till I had the pink ones, and one friend goes, oh, you know, that causes cancer in lab rats. I'm like, do I look like a rodent to you? So I started using the blue ones and said, oh, you know, that kills brain cells, causes short-term memory loss. You know what I do now? I use one of each. She said, you drink water. That was awesome. I use one of each, and then somebody starts to say something. I go, hey, if I get cancer, I don't want to know about it. Okay, just leave me alone. But I think we have so many choices that we have lost common sense. I'll give you my favorite example. In Atlanta, we had a stadium called the Georgia Dome. A buddy of mine asked me to go, and I'm like, yeah, we had great seats at the Georgia Dome. We were in the 5th row from the roof. But anyway, says, which team are we? I said, we're the little silver red dots, you know. But as we got done with the game, they have those huge ramps that spiral down until you get to the bottom, you have vertigo. And then he grabbed my arm, he says, hey, come here. I did not know about this, but on each end of the Georgia Dome, there's an express escalator. Goes from the top level all the way to the bottom. We get on that, you watch people spiral, and you're just going, hey, this is great. The only problem was halfway down, it's like 100, 150 yards long. It's massive. All of a sudden, just, it broke. But then we stood there. I'm leaning over like, why are we standing here? And I can't see because hundreds of people are leaning over going, why are we just standing here? We stood there 2.5, almost 3 full minutes stranded on this escalator. I wish it was me, but finally this guy in the back just screams at hundreds of people, whoa! Just whoa! I wish I could have seen the guy in the front. Oh, dang, and I was almost there, too. I hope they fix this soon. I gotta get home. I'm gonna eat the rest of this M&M. So, does anybody have a birthday in the past 12 months? What are you guys, test tube babies? What happened there? As I'm getting older, I just realize my choices are narrowing down. Like, I didn't pick this hair. You get older, you don't get to pick as much. I didn't pick this hair. I used to have great hair. I mean, I had big hair. You guys remember back in the late 70s, early 80s, my hair was hand high. It was huge. I loved it. If you took a picture of buckwheat, I look like the negative. I love that half of you got that. Everybody under 30 is like, who is buckwheat? What is a negative? No, but it's totally out of jealousy because here's the deal. As my hair grows thinner and lets go. Ladies, let me just say that. How many, one more time, how many are here today are men that are married? Married men, raise your hands. Awesome. Every one of them will vouch for me. Ladies, it's out of jealousy because it amazes us, stuns us that how much hair you can lose and have any left on your head whatsoever. We take the second shower. We go to turn on the water. It's like, holy cow. Is that a hamster? What is that? There's a small toupee down in the drain. I don't know about you, but I started picking it up, putting it on my bald spot. Oh, it's not easy. My wife is catching up a little. She's 5 years younger, but she's catching up a little bit. The other night we went to see a movie, and she gets up at the end of the movie, and she's like, oh, my back. Oh, my back. I was like, you okay? She goes, no, my back, it hurts. I said, yeah, that happens to me sometimes. And she said, no, I mean, it really hurts. I said, no, I know. I asked the doctor about it last time I went. She said, well, what did he say? Now, you got to understand real quickly that my wife is a recovering hypochondriac. And I am a comedian. The straightest face I could pull, I said, well, he told me it was the early stages of OLD. I'm not making this up. She was like, oh my goodness, what's that? I'm getting old there, Buttercup. That's what that is. Now, ladies, I do not know the female version of this, but gentlemen, when this happens, you are officially old. The other night, I pulled a muscle in my leg, sleeping. Anybody else have this one yet? 3 in the morning, just, oh, man! I went to the bathroom, I looked like a newborn deer. Just, I shared that at a show the next week. This 20-something kid came up, he goes, hey, man. I said, hey, he goes, great show. I was like, thanks. He goes, you know what that is, right? I said, what are you talking about? He says, the cramp. You know what that is, right? I said, no. He said, you gotta hydrate. Dehydrated. Before you go to bed, hydrate. I said, dude, I just had a birthday. I hydrate before I go to bed. I'm peeing 9 times that night, all right? Yeah. I got a choice, cramps or depends. Just... I'm sticking with the cramps for now. It's not easy getting older. It's not easy getting older, but I love that I'm married. I have been married 25 years, and it's been great. And yes, you can clap for that. Yes. But my wife and I, we're getting in that mode where I'm so thankful what I've been through. And I look the whole process of relationships. And let me just tell you, if you're not married, it doesn't get easier, it gets harder, but it gets better. It's one of those weird, like in 2nd grade, I don't know if you remember your first girlfriend or whatever. 2nd grade, I had 7 girlfriends at the same time. It went downhill from there, I'm just saying. Now, I gotta ask this, is some of you gonna remember this before smartphones back in the day? When I got to middle school, I got my first love note. Does anybody else remember a love note? They never came from the girl, always her best friend, and it was always a rectangle with a pull here tab. Do you remember these? And you pull it, it's like, this message just appeared. It says, dear Ken, Nia likes you. Do you like her? Yes, no. Circle 1. It came with instructions. I circled yes and I sent it back. I got another note. Dear Ken, Nia wants you to ask her to go with her. Do you want to ask her to go with you? Yes, no. Circle 1. And I circled yes and I sent it back, and for 2 glorious weeks we went together. I have no idea where we went, but we went together. Then I got to high school. Only had 2 dates in all of high school, only 2, but one was with the cheerleader. Now let me ask this, any of you guys ever date a cheerleader at any point in your life? Raise your hands real quick, that's awesome. You can ask them to verify this. It's different. I went up to ring the doorbell, and she came up. I said, hey, are you ready? She's like, ready? Okay. I took her to see a movie. You take a cheerleader to see a movie, you got to buy 2 extra seats so you can sit like cheerleaders. In the middle of the movie, she's like, that was funny, funny, funny. What is this finger thing? Then I got to high school, and then I got to college. College, I discovered what was called creatively the talk. Now, the talk went something like this. I'll never forget the first time it happened. We were at Shoney's. Do you guys even know what a Shoney's is? Yes, nice. It's like a Denny's, just not as nice. Okay, that's Shoney's. And I'm sitting there with my hot fudge cake, and this girl goes, can we talk? Yeah, that's what we're here for. She said, where are we? Shoney's. Nodded, Shoney's. And then she said this, you know, Ken, you're so great and wonderful. You're everything I've ever looked for in a guy. That's why I think you'll make such a great husband and father, but that's why I think we should date other people. But let's still be friends. Oh, you know the talk. That's great. That's great. And then I got out of college, met my wife, and I love this. I was in my groom's room at my wedding, and a buddy of mine goes, man, they should warn you when you get married. So what are you talking about? He says, they should warn you. In the vows, they should change them to warn you. And I'm like, dude, I'm about to walk out and get married. What are you talking about? He says, well, they should change the vows. To her, they need to be the same. Do you take him better or worse, rich or poor, sickness, health, death, do you part? I do. To men, they need to read some version of Miranda rights. You have the right to remain silent. Because anything you say can and will be misunderstood. And it will be used against you. I love being around young couples. Anybody here tonight, like newlyweds, a year or less? Anybody newlyweds? And they're like, we're not admitted. Are you really? That's awesome. That's great. And I love being around them because they're so great. Let me just tell you, dude, have you heard this one yet? Are you going to wear that? Have you heard that yet? You have? Let me give you a quick hint. That's not a question. That's a statement in the form of a question. The next time she does it, I've got the answer. You just go, this is my warm-up outfit. I was waiting for you to pick something out for me. You know, that's it. We were sitting next to some newlyweds at a restaurant the other night. My wife said, hey, get me a Coke Zero. I'm going to the bathroom. And I wasn't eavesdropping. They were just right there. And it was so great because I just thought, you know what? I need to be more attentive to my wife. He's super attentive. And he just went, what's wrong? And of course, ladies, she said, nothing. But see, he didn't know he was a rookie. And he said, well, I can tell something's wrong. Why don't you just tell me? And she goes, you wouldn't understand. He goes, well, how can I understand if you don't tell me? And finally, she just broke down. She goes, I just want you to want what I want. I wanted so bad to lean over and go, it's a trap. Don't say anything. But he didn't know. And he said, well, what do you want? And I thought she was about to burst in tears. She goes, see, you don't understand. And I thought his head was going to explode. He goes, ah. And it could not have been more perfect timing. The waiter came at that moment to their table and said, hey, are you guys ready to order? Do you know what you want? I just love that. And I'm not saying, if you're here tonight and you're single, any singles, let me see singles, hands, let me see. All right, there's some singles here, that's great. It's not easy being single. It's not. I'm telling you, though, the married folks love watching you people. We really do. Now, this is worth the whole price of admission here tonight. Guys, you will never know if girls are checking you out. Because girls at a young age begin to travel in herds. And they're sneaky about it. You walked in and they're like, oh my gosh, do you see him? Don't look now, don't look now. No, look at the reflection off the wall, okay? Follow my finger, follow my finger, follow my finger. You will never know. Ladies, inversely, God in his wisdom and creation reached down into the male DNA and pulled out the gene called discretion. You will never have to wonder if a guy is checking you out. You walk by and guys are like, hi. That's not the best part. The best part is if you catch a guy looking. Thousands of years, guys checking out girls. We're staring. Here's what we came up with. You walk by. You catch us looking. Here's what we do. Hey. We're like a Love Pez dispenser. Oh my goodness, this is again gonna be worth it. If you're single, this one alone is worth it. My wife and I, 10-year anniversary, went to Hawaii. I learned a word in Hawaii, aloha. Do you know what that word means? It means hello and do you know what else it means? I love you, yes. That's it. Talk about the perfect word for the end of a first date. Aloha. You figure it out. I'm telling you, it's not going to get easier, but it is going to get better. I love my wife. We found out how different we are, but we've even gotten past that. I'm OCD. Drives her crazy. It really does. She's like, you are so OCD, and I am. My clothes in my closet, short sleeves, lightest to darkest. Long sleeves, lightest to darkest. Pants, lightest to darkest. Everything has a drawer. Everything in its drawer is God meant it to be, okay? Anybody else here OCD? Anybody else? Yes, these are my people. And I love that she's raising her husband's hand. You! Well, if I'm OCD, my wife has a condition I have submitted to the New England Journal of Medicine. It's called GILD. Get it later disorder. I'll give you the perfect example of GILD. I went to the bathroom the other night. I hydrated too much. And I know where the bathroom is. And as I'm walking to the toilet, I did not realize she has left the drawers to her sink open. In the dark, I'm just... got a gash in my leg. Next morning, she's like, what was that noise? Baby, you left your drawers open. And if you're married to somebody with GILD, here's the phrase you will hear repetitively. She said, I didn't have time. I was in a hurry, I didn't have time. You didn't have time to push in your drawers. You got a stopwatch on your iPhone. Time this. Ready, go. How long was that? I didn't have time. A couple weeks later, had a scratchy throat. Went downstairs to get a drink of water. I know where the cabinet is. Leaned in to get a drink, to open the door, to get a glass. Didn't need to. It was already open. I just leaned in. God. Got my drink, went back to bed. The next morning, I wake up to the most blood-curdling scream I've heard in my marriage. Out of nowhere, it's like, ah! I'm like, what? She was, what? I'm like, what? And she said, what happened to you? And I'm like, what are you talking about? I look down. I am laying in a pool of blood. There's a goose egg on my forehead with a gash down the middle, blood all the way down one side. She said, what happened to you? And I was like, baby, you left the cabinet door open. I said, oh. She goes, I didn't have time. I was in a hurry. I didn't have time. She goes, I feel like I frustrate you. I just feel like I frustrate you. And I was like, baby, you do. You frustrate the crud out of me sometimes. But, baby, here's the deal. It's like 2% of the time. See, when you're married for a while, you realize we're not perfect. We weren't meant to be perfect. She goes, well, you frustrate me too. And I was like, baby, I know. I'm OCD, but you got to look at the bright side of OCD. Baby, if I'm in the kitchen walking through and there's dishes, I have to do them. That's the way I'm wired. Ladies, I vacuum without being asked. All right? I know. Don't be impressed like that. I just like the way the lines look. You can ask my wife this. Go online, meet her, and ask her. Because at my house, I wash soften, dry, fold, and iron all the laundry in our home, okay? Now, I'm getting some death looks from some guys right now, all right? Now, you gotta understand, I'm aware. I'm self-aware that I am below average looking, okay? But I'm gonna tell you right now, for most of the women over 35, I just became one of the sexiest men alive, all right? I'm just saying. I shared that at a show, women were throwing clothes on the stage. I don't think they were attracted. I think they were like, wash this, iron this. You're good. But see, here's the deal. I want to get better. And as to get better, I've made a choice. I remember now, if you've been married for more than 5 years, you've learned to discern your wife's screams. There's the I am in mortal danger scream, but it sounds very similar to the I'm completely overreacting scream. 5:17 in the morning, I heard the overreacting scream, and I have a choice. Do I pretend I did not hear that? And then she screamed again. Now I got to do something. I go into the bathroom, I open the doors. My wife is on the sink. Towel half around her, bathrobe half around her. She sees me and just starts to scream. It was over there, it was huge, it was this big, it was a roach, I don't know what it is. It was huge, it was my feet, it was over there. Okay, I'm trying to wake up. I'm like, okay, it was this big? And she goes, it was this big. And I was like, okay, that's a cat, all right? But I'll go and I look. And I'm like, are you sure it wasn't like your hair in the drain or something? I said, baby, it's gone. And she goes, are you sure? I said, yes, but I want to validate her. I said, I will get traps. I put the traps throughout the house. The next morning I woke up, right before her alarm. I had to go to the bathroom. I hydrated the night before. And I want to be a good husband. I pick up the toilet seat. As I go to pick it up, I see something I've never seen before. It was a mouse floating in our toilet. Now, when I say floating, I don't mean like in a chair with a drink and an umbrella. It's more like a mob hit, just that time she walks up. I said, did you put him there? She just flipped out. She's like, that's it. What is he doing? I'm like, floating, pretty much. She said, why is he in there? I'm like, I don't know, but you know what? I think he heard you scream yesterday. Couldn't live with the guilt. Ended it all. She said, do you think there's any more? I'm like, I don't know, but I put out the traps. That night, 3 seconds after my head hit the pillow, I was like, whoa. She's like, what was that? I'm like, I don't know, but I will go look. Why are we whispering? I go into the closet, I open the door to our crawl space, flip on the light, and sure enough, there's his brother. I'm like, ooh, right middle, and I'm like, I'm not gonna traumatize her, I'll get him tomorrow. I turn off the light, I close the door. As I'm walking back to bed, she's like, was there another one? I'm not gonna lie, I said yes. She said, what did he look like? I said, you know what, I can tell you exactly what he looked like. He looked like, oh, look, peanut butter. Now, I'm going to tell you this. I give myself a B, maybe a B- on that, but I want to get better. And I want to get better. And here's what I came up with. I believe this was divinely inspired. This year, I'm going to match her level of emotion in every situation. Next time I hear that scream, I'm bursting through the doors. My lady! I've heard your cry. Your prince is here. For what vexes thee? For if it vexes thee, it vexes me. For our hearts are one. Then I shall hunt down this rat roach beast of crawl space. And I shall end this reign of fear in our castle. Then we will return to the marriage chamber. And we will lie on the wedding bed. And we will do what lovers of 20 years do. We will bask in the glow of our television. For at least 8 minutes before falling asleep. But sleep does not end our love. No, our love is enriched in slumber. For even as we sleep, you hearken unto me. And I beckon back. And when we awake and sleep's journey is complete and slumber is no more, our lips like magnets are drawn. And as they touch ever so gently, we realize simultaneously that we share the breath of a dead camel. And we return to the room where the rat roach beast once ruled. And we brush our teeth. And as we brush, I see your reflection in the pools of brown that are your eyes. And they speak to me and they say, I married that. And I see you in all of your naturalness. And it is then that we realize this is true love. God bless you. Thank you guys.